Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs. I am Zach and I am back for another video. Sorry about the lack of uploading. I've been traveling and also I've been lazy. Not gonna lie, you all deserve the truth and nothing but the truth. Which is why today I'm going to give you my honest opinion of Quentin Tarantino's 9th film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, as you may know, this film scored the largest opening weekend of any Tarantino film yet at $40 million. Which is kind of crazy when you think about it. I mean, love him or hate him, you can't deny that the man is one of the most high-profile directors currently working, and yet $40 million is his largest opening weekend. In comparison, The Incredible Hulk, the lowest-grossing MCU film, had an opening weekend of $50.8 million back in 2008. That's just incredible. Good God, that was awful. I should tar and feather myself. In preemptive summation, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a bit of a mixed bag. It was a beautiful mess. Like, when you open up a card and confetti spills out everywhere, you think, wow, that was awesome, but now I have to clean this crap up. So I'm going to structure this as 3 things I liked about the movie and 3 things I didn't like. I'll try to avoid spoiling too much, but if you haven't seen the film and want to go into it with a blank slate, you probably shouldn't watch this video. Anyway, let's dive on in. Let me preface this by saying this is all my opinion, none of this is fact, this is just what I thought. If you don't agree, that's fine, but be civil, people. Now, hands down, the best part of this film is the acting. It's a freaking masterclass. DiCaprio plays a struggling actor in the film, Rick Dalton, and undertakes the challenge of having to do 2 layers of acting. The first is regular acting like you see in any movie, and the second is acting in movies within the movie. Now, it isn't very hard to portray being a bad actor within a film, but DiCaprio's character is a good actor. So he has to sell us on the fact that yes, he is acting in a film within a film, but he's acting competently. It's so ridiculously nuanced and impressive that I have no doubt he'll be nominated for Best Actor yet again. Brad Pitt's character was probably the most fun to watch, and I loved pretty much every scene he was in. He plays a quiet, quirky stuntman and has some of the best lines in the film. On the flip side, the first negative is that Margot Robbie was criminally underused within the film. She rarely gets to even speak and spends a good portion of her screen time just dancing around. It's clear that she was cast in order to act as a further attraction for the film. Her fantastic acting ability, unfortunately, was largely wasted apart from one particular scene, which was one of the best scenes in the movie. Another strength to this movie was the dialogue. It's typical Tarantino. The characters can be talking about drying paint at the DMV and it could be entertaining. Every line is gripping and so well written. Not a single line ever really took me out of the film. Tarantino may be eccentric, but he sure knows how to write and how to get believable and memorable performances out of his actors. Pacing is another weakness of this film. It's very slow at times and not much happens. This is not a short film either. It's at 2 hours and 45 minutes long, and it didn't really need to be. We have to watch several of Rick Dalton's projects within the film, which probably add 10 to 15 minutes, if not more. There are entire scenes where nothing significant to the plot happens. I completely understand what Tarantino is going for too. He's letting us get immersed in the good old days of Hollywood, but personally, as much as I enjoyed that feeling, I just wanted a smooth story and we didn't really get that. It was kind of disjointed and oddly paced. I definitely think they should have cut back on the amount of Rick Dalton projects that we had to watch. They could have maybe placed some of them during the credits, and that would have been awesome. That would have been a lot of fun to watch. And the last good thing that I liked about this film, as I alluded to a second ago, it does plant you directly in the 60s. Now, I was negative 27 years old in 1969, so I can't speak to the actual authenticity of the film, but it looked and felt authentic. I definitely bought the fact that we were watching a story set in the 60s. Everyone smokes, there are hippies about, aviator sunglasses, leather jackets, old cars, even the color grade. Oh, the color grade was nice, and it screamed 60s. You have Bruce Lee, Charlie Manson, and The Family, Wild West TV shows, a brilliant soundtrack that really sets the atmosphere in the time. It was all very old school cool, and it worked. That being said, I thought that the film got very distracted with all of that, and it began to kind of focus on that, and it took away from the story, and that's something that I struggle with this movie. Lastly, the film was very cluttered. We all know where the story ultimately has to end up, but it takes its sweet time getting there, and it takes a questionable path. Bruce Lee, not the actual Bruce Lee because, well, you know, but Bruce Lee felt very shoehorned in this movie, and they kind of made a joke out of him. Charlie Manson appears in only one brief scene, leaving the majority of that plotline in the hands of his notorious family. Most of the film follows Rick Dalton and his struggles, which is intercut with his stuntman's activities, and occasionally with whatever Sharon Tate is up to. But essentially, when it comes down to it, you have these two major plot lines that run parallel to one another. They don't really come together until the end of the film. Brad Pitt's character is used as kind of like the glue that initially brings them together near the middle of the film, but then they kind of go separate ways again. And as great as that scene was, it did kind of feel like it was just there to remind you that Charlie Manson's family was in this movie and that that was kind of a looming thing in the background. It didn't really serve a huge purpose when all was said and done. I would have just liked these two plot points to interact and be more intertwined throughout the whole movie instead of largely waiting till the end. Overall, I did enjoy Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I wouldn't say I'm in a huge rush to see this movie again anytime soon, but I am glad I watched it. I would say that off the top of my head, it's Tarantino's 7th best movie. It probably falls between the Kill Bills, honestly. So that was my review for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. If you've already seen the film, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe if you want. It's totally your call. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, folks. Bye!